Hi, my name is Graham Ward and I'll be taking you through the next unit standard number 252043. The title of this unit standard is Manage a Diverse Workforce to Add Value. Demonstrate knowledge and understanding of diversity in the workplace. Demonstrate understanding of the reality of diversity and its value in a unit. Manage team members taking into account similarities and differences. And lastly, deal with disagreements and conflicts arising from diversity in a unit. Okay, so those are the specific outcomes. Let's take a look at a small definition of what diversity really means. Diversity is generally defined as acknowledging, understanding, accepting, valuing, and celebrating differences amongst people. Esty et al. 1995. The concept of diversity is therefore encompasses acceptance and respect of others. So diversity is an effect of many things, such as race, gender, socio-economic status, perhaps even sexual orientation. Diversity encompasses many reasons why we're different from one another. Even age, religion, or political beliefs can differentiate us from one another, causing a diverse population and or workforce out there. We need to realize that these diverse differences are what separate us as individuals, and they should be celebrated rather than condemned. So in the workforce, we need to be careful that diversity doesn't differentiate salary or how a person can grow within the organization. It's important that diversity is separated from an individual's ability to earn a good salary or to grow within an organization. It's something we all do. We all judge one another, whether it's on color or race or creed or hairstyle or the car we drive, and we must be careful that in judging others we're not creating a barrier between ourselves. Our judgments can often lead to opinions, and those opinions can cause others to be harmed. And don't forget, our discriminations affect both internal stakeholders, which are within our organization, and external stakeholders, which would mean people outside of our organization, such as suppliers or customers or people that we deal with outside of our organization structure. So diversity has both advantages and disadvantages. Let's understand what the advantages and disadvantages are of diversity and see how they may pertain to ourselves. The advantages of having a diverse population or workforce within your organization might be you could attract the most qualified people if you're not discriminating against race, color, creed, or religion, etc. They could improve your corporate culture because by having a diverse workforce means that you're more in touch with the world as a reality anyway, or as the world as a whole. It can foster better customer relationships or client relationships because if you've got someone who may, for example, be Indian, he's most likely to be able to understand the culture of an Indian customer and therefore be able to secure the customer better. It's a diverse workforce which helps us to better foster client relations because of this. It also increases the shareholders' value because better diversity probably means better profits because of better customer relationships, and this in itself means that we're able to create a better shareholder value. And lastly, it can aid in improving profits. A more diverse workforce helps us to understand a better population out there that could be purchasing our products or services, and this in turn leads to better profitability. On the other side of the scale, some of the disadvantages about a diverse workforce might be problem solving might be harder. In other words, it might be more difficult to understand someone's needs because they're culturally different or come from a different religious background, for example. So it can be harder to solve problems if you've got a more diverse workforce. Another problem might be stereotyping. We're all prone to saying this person is that stereotype or that mold of person simply because of the way they hair or the makeup they wear or the type of car they drive. We need to be careful as it can be a disadvantage from a diversity perspective if we stereotype individuals. And lastly, we need to be careful that cultures can clash. Different cultures, different religions, different backgrounds of human beings can cause clashing, and this can cause conflict within the workplace. Let's just take a look at the concept of perceptions, how we as individuals perceive things. Our perceptions are created by our sensory organs, such as our eyes, ears, feel, touch, and our other senses. These cause us to perceive things in certain ways. We need to be aware that our perceptions may or may not be correct, or may be harboring one section of our workforce or creating diversity. So our perceptions are something which is sensory driven, and we need to be aware that they can cause conflict and diversity within our organization. Just to give you an example, I might perceive that clouds rolling in on the horizon might be a problem or a threat to my life tonight because of great winds and huge rains. Others might perceive this to be a good thing. The rains may come and water the fields, which will help the crops to grow. So both individuals are seeing the same thing, rolling clouds coming in. However, they have different perceptions about what this may mean to them. So we need to be careful that our perceptions are controlled, that they actually are a reality of the diversity we're working with. Emotional intelligence, on the other hand, is how we see body language, how we perceive things through others' language, their body language, how they're coming across, and the feel we get from that. We need to be aware from our emotional intelligence perspective about how we feel and how we're going to react to our emotional intelligence. So organizations today are creating strategies around diversity. Let's take a look at some of the things you could do as a strategist in order to enhance diversity. For example, you might integrate diversity into the goals of the organization. That is, why not embrace diversity and encourage it into your organization? You might want to attract and develop culturally different staff. Maybe they're different culturally, being Indian or colored or white or black, or whatever the differences might be culturally. Try to encourage it in your organization. You might want to attract people with disabilities, for example. People with disabilities are just as easily able to function if they're given a position which they can perform well at. How about creating a discrimination-free workforce? A workforce which is sensitive to each other, is sensitive to the differences in their diversities, and therefore able to embrace each other. You may want to look at a strategy to manage diversity in your workplace. How are you going to manage such a thing? And in South Africa, the Rainbow Nation, this is so important and so relevant to our lives. You're also seeking to have employee equity data recorded. Make sure that you record the differences and diversities amongst people in your organization. Let's take a brief look then at what discriminant behavior might mean. What might we do as an organization that could be considered as discriminant behavior? For example, when we advertise for a job position, we might find ourselves excluding certain peoples from that job position. The selection process also is important. Do not discriminate when selecting individuals for your organization, regardless of their color, creed, race, or religion. Ensure that each person has an equal chance to be selected in your organization. Other discrimination might be according to age, too old for the job or too young for it. Be careful of this. Or sex, or religion, or sexual orientation. Our selection process needs to ensure that every individual, regardless of their sexual orientation or age or religion, has an equal chance to being selected for a position. We're about selecting talent, and that talent is what we want inside our organization. So when we select the right people for the job, regardless of their diverse nature, we're selecting people who are able to offer innovation to our organization, people who are able to be creative and ultimately solve problems to advance our organization. Remember, as said before, that a diverse workforce is useful when it comes to customer service. If your staff members are diverse in nature, they're able to better understand the needs and wants of diverse customers, and this can be beneficial to your organization. So a philosophy of employing those who are right for the job, regardless of their differences, is a good management policy, and it's a policy that will ultimately profit your organization in the long run. In any organization, you're likely to have conflict, regardless of how diverse it might be. And of course, the more diverse it is, the more likely you're going to have conflict. So in order to minimize conflict, you may want to adopt the AEIOU acronym. Let's take a brief look at that. A stands for assume those that are in the conflict mean well. That is, they're not there to cause conflict. They just have a difference of opinion. Don't forget to E, express your own feelings. Let people know how you feel about the conflict and how it's impacting on you as an individual. Don't forget I, identify what's happening and what you'd like to see happening in the future. Foresee the vision to resolve the conflict. O, express what you'd like to see happening and also to be open to suggestions. O stands for being open to other people's suggestions, regardless of what your viewpoint might be. They may just have a better suggestion. And finally, U is understanding each other and understanding that once a conflict has been resolved, that everybody has the understanding to move forward in the direction and the chosen choice. That way, the conflict is minimized and people are able to move forward understanding what the solution is. My name's Graham Ward and I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I'll see you at the next one.